didn't try to build.
This meeting is being recorded.
We didn't try to build something cool. Instead, we tried to build something that gave people a sense. What does, some of you have heard this explanation before, but what does cool mean? Cool is that sense, think of a great skateboard trick, or Tony Stark flicking atoms in, controlling his information space as he invents a new element. That sense of mastering control comes down to efficiency, where people can communicate data more effectively, more quickly, build better mental models in the minds of their audience. And that's really what we're trying to do. It is cool, but we're not trying to create just something that's cool. It really has to be something that people can use every day to accomplish real meaningful communications in the world.
Okay, and I'm Bill Morton. I head up services at Flow. So things having to do with implementation, education, training, support are in my areas. I also handle a few other things. And basically I spend all day, every day working with customers and with people who are learning Flow. So I've got one of the neatest jobs in the world, because people from all over the world send me their flows to review, critique, provide feedback, maybe get assistance sometimes. So it's I really get a kick out of seeing what the creativity that's being done all around the world with Flow. So looking forward to working with you guys.
I'm Anushree, and I do a lot more on the marketing and operations front. And my background is in economics, and I love data and working with it.
Thanks, and nice to meet all of you. So I'm Michael DiPanino. I'm head of business at Flow and one of the co-founders along with Jason. Really describe myself as a recovering management consultant, making up for all of those decks that I force people to sit through. And really saw Flow as this next iteration of how we more effectively communicate. That I'd sort of reached a limit of taking snapshots or screenshots of Tableau and pasting it into a deck, and then iterating on that there needed to be a more effective way to actually have these conversations around data. And so anyways, very excited to talk with you guys about sort of this opportunity and how we're sort of structuring it. Before I get too deep into it, let me actually start this poll. So you'll see a poll on your end. So 3 questions here, and then we'll just help us get a better sense of who you are and your sort of understanding, if at all, of Flow and what we do right now. So I'll pause here for a moment while people respond in time. Right. All right, great. For the last few more answers trickling in, so we'll end the poll here just in a moment or two. But one thing we sort of skipped over yesterday that I do think is worth it spending at least 2 minutes or just a fast minute, I guess, going into. I'm sorry, before I just jump one thing. Yeah, okay. Is to actually go into a flow together to show you a little what can be done and just a high level perspective of what flow is in case you haven't seen it or you're sort of wondering what's going on there. But then we'll dive further into the certified program specifically and talking more about that structure. So I'm only going to spend maybe a minute here, or sorry, probably more like 3 or 4 minutes here, but then we'll start to dive into the specific content for certified flow designers. So ultimately with Flow, we are solving for 3 fundamental problems in data communication. Is your audience actually paying attention? Are they engaged? Do they actually understand? And at the end of the day, they have a better mental model of the information that was presented to them? And can they interact both with the content as well as others in the meeting? And by solving for those, we can drive better data-driven decisions in the workplace and in a lot of sales conversions, hence why we asked a little bit on the sales and marketing side for some of the use cases that it's used in sales presentations. And so we do that through data storytelling. And data storytelling is this combination of the empathy you can drive with a story combined with the logic of a data visualization. And it's that exact thing that we have focused in on as being a software to help you more effectively communicate insights from data to an end audience. And so we think of ourselves as complementary to Tableau or a lot of BI tools or machine learning, where you're using it as a visualization and communication platform to communicate outwards. And just to hammer this home one bit further, just what is a data story? So this is a very basic example to show the 2020 election in the United States and how one data set, you can tell 3 stories. The first story looking at the country this way, you would say that the whole country voted red, but that the counter argument to that is that, well, land doesn't vote, people vote. And so if you adjust the bars based on the number of votes cast, a very different story emerges. But let me just take it one step further, which is to actually invite you guys in. So this is all a live meeting. And so if you have your phone handy, I would encourage you to point your phone to that QR code, and that will drop you into this environment. And you could actually do this on headset as well, to just type in the 4-digit code here, and that would also bring you in. But we've been doing this long before the metaverse was really even a term that was thrown around in more popular culture, although the term obviously predates it quite a bit. So in a joking way, I used to say, you know, welcome to the metaverse, but in a more serious tone, it feels like every day we have more conversations with companies that's sort of acknowledge more of work happening in a digital space, and we are working to enhance that experience, basically. So, you know, in many ways, what we're seeing here is not rocket science. You're seeing me, and then everyone else here in the scene is someone that's joined onto that link. And so anyone on their computer will show up as this headset. You'll notice the phones in there. And this is actually how we record these AR videos too. I can go into some of the nuance there, but there's nothing fake about it. And what we're doing here is basically showing a map where you can click on the map. So if I click here on Cook County, it highlights for everyone and it draws your attention. And actually, I can turn on interactions where we could then, when anyone interacted, we could see what they selected. But in many ways, it sort of hints towards this future of a digital world where you are interacting by just pointing to things and interacting in a sort of normal way. You know, crazy to think, but just today, Jason and I met with someone, first time ever in VR, and it was this cancer data visualization that has extreme amounts of interactivity. And I you know, I don't know, there's something about his very first experience and working in healthcare his whole life, and to be able to look at microscopy data and all these other data elements together to defy distance, it really sort of lit up the room in terms of what he saw as the potential. So it was really cool to see that moment for someone the first time. And so ultimately, and I'll skip this last step, ultimately we are providing access to the Flow editor. Why you're here today is we want to get more people into the editor because we are seeing opportunities that are coming our way that we think are best served by a community, an ecosystem of people that can build, but also that we can market their existing skill sets on top of what the visualization software can do to actually sell to or help package this for brands themselves. So the Flow editor is this cross between the PowerPoints essentially and Tableau in terms of what capabilities exist there. And that on top of that, you can deliver more or less these dashboards that allow people to create stories on top of them. And so you can actually make quite interactive dashboards, and we'll get further into that. But at the end of the day, a flow is a link, so it can be a standalone presentation. It can be these multi-user meetings like we're in right now, or it can be these AR videos, which we'll show a few of. But that was a extremely popular way to reach a very large swath of people. And you know, one of the big impetuses for why we're meeting today is that we have a lot of requests for, like, I just want someone to make this AR video basically, or something like it for us. You know, how can you line us up with that? And we think that's a more straightforward request that would be easier to serve to this qualified community. And then on the other hand, we have enterprises that are reaching out to us that are looking for much more intense projects that are much more engaged and much larger in scope and involve a lot more customization. So those are occurring as well, but that would be a much deeper commitment in terms of us working together more hand in hand. But on the other side, the brand side, if we can help serve these up for you to make money, that I think is good for everyone. So let me pause there. I know I sort of jumped through quite a lot. Jason, Bill, Anushree, anything I missed or anything you'd like to add? And then I'll open it up to some general questions here before we start to talk a little bit more specific.
I don't think you missed anything, so great start.
Yeah, I'll just add that Flow is it's a diverse and interesting product, and Flow provides a forum where you can exercise all sorts of creativity in conveying data stories to whoever and audiences who are interested or should be interested in those data stories. So it's just a quick observation.
Sorry, we'll help our next team. Great. So in terms of, so I'll end this meeting, but really awesome to see everyone participating and jumping into this immersive scene. It feels more and more common every day, and that's only going to be built out much further. We could talk endlessly about where that is moving. But in the meantime, let me start one other thing, which is to end this first poll. Make sure to capture that real quick.
And either Michael or Anushree, can you also add me as a manager of the meeting?
Oh yes, of course. You should have co-host.
Yeah, I'm not a host yet. Thank you.
There you go. Cool. So anyways, we're opening up this question. Should see the answers to that. And this will help actually divide up sort of the breakout rooms, but this will help just to get a sense of why you're here today.
So before we go to breakout rooms too, Michael, I'll just give people some ideas of where Flow is heading, show some of the bigger projects we've done, and then give them a sense of like the Meta app.
Sure, that sounds good. Great. I mean, it's a pretty good little grouping here, which is great. So when we create rooms, they will basically match these, and I encourage you to basically go to the room that sort of matches what you're most interested in. Where I'll talk about sort of this, the freelancer position. Bill is going to talk about bringing it into your workplace and all the enterprise work that we've done there. Jason's going to be leading up the group on school and classroom, and probably also taking the group that sort of, I don't know why I'm here, just exploring and seeing what's there. And then those sort of get more credentials, stand out at work and school and build out your portfolio, we're going to have with Anushree. So anyways, breakout rooms, but that will be next. But we'll get more into details of how we're trying to structure things so that it's in everyone's best interest. But Jason, go ahead.
Sure. So let me go ahead and share. You may need to, I'm on a different computer doing the sharing. So yeah, thanks for spotlighting me. So this is actually the cancer research project that we were showing off today. So this is for the National Cancer Institute. It was a grant, and what's particularly fun, it is a VR first project. This is an 8 GB multi-layered image that is served up. Each layer can be turned on and off and colorized in real time on the for the researchers. Each image is a biomarker. So what we're actually looking at, this is a biopsy of a breast cancer patient, and the let me go back and select it. The red color is tumor cells. So without getting into too much detail, we can show a whole really in dozens of layers of biomarkers. On top of that, we can show the amount of expression of each biomarker, and in each one of those, be able to zoom in and get a better idea. So just to give you a sense of the scope of what can be done, and how these interactive menus work together to create a much more dynamic flow. Another project I'll show briefly is a project which will be public, which we're doing for the UNDP. This is the Nature Climate Energy group, and this represents $5 billion of grants all around the world, where that they are engaged in to address some of the biggest issues in both climate and energy situation. So here we can actually isolate down how many women are directly or indirectly benefiting from projects, which projects, where in the world are those projects? Are they big grants? Are they small grants? We can take a look at hectares of landscapes that have been improved
and want to create the best looking content
in the view. So that gives you a little bit sense of some of the interactive dashboards we're working on. And then in addition, just like I mentioned, that we are further along in on an Oculus native app, which if you think of a flow as a document that is by the flow editor, the Oculus did a bunch of the full VR capabilities that you would expect in as a native application. So for example, with the new headsets, we're specifically supporting the new headsets. Those have been already announced. They're mixed reality capabilities, a bunch of other really expressive things with their full avatar system, and full in some ways really pushing the boundaries of what it means to present information, things where we can actually capture your avatar presenting, then let you capture a video of it and send it off, all in a way. Not only are we giving you the tool in Flow to build interactive visualizations, but giving you the media capture environment so that you can create those and easily share them either with management or to get people encouraged online to come see the flow for themselves, either in headset or on flat screen. So those are a few of the things that are on tap that we have already been working on and that are on tap for the future. Some of that, quote, really advanced interactivity hasn't made it all the way to the Flow editor user interface yet, but that will all be coming in short order.
Yeah. And so, great example of sort of end-to-end, building out basically all of these customizations. And we are not cancer experts, but by working with the cancer experts that are getting grant funding, essentially that's opened up sort of the opportunity there. And so in many ways, I think there's sort of two sort of streams of project work if you are interested in more of the engagement with us to make money. That on one hand, there are these more straightforward presentations that are presentations of data. And this is maybe the best example of a sales and marketing use case, but the AR and VR videos to be able to create content that it can then be used by brands in their sales materials or in other materials that sort of fits into their marketing ecosystem has been requested, and I think is sort of a faster turnaround thing. We can link people up. But then on the other side of the equation, people that want to do these more intense projects like national or NCI, that's a bit more coordination, but that ultimately we want to give you the tools so that you can make a living building flows. I mean, that's at the end of the day what we believe in, and that we want to drive things forward to help people have more effective conversations around data. And I think the thing we've learned is that not everyone's great at the flow editor. It's just sort of inevitably how it works. And so we're relying on this certified group that have spent the time to learn the tool and have sort of the chops to be able to manipulate data so that we can connect these groups that want to build it, but not necessarily can. That's really the impetus for why we want you to exist. And anyways, look forward to getting to know you guys a little bit further in the breakout room. So we'll jump breakout next. Jason, Bill, and is there anything else we wanted to jump into here before that?
I'm not sure you mentioned like the certification process a little bit more, and you know, the capstone of that.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yes. So basically, this week is a information gathering phase where we're trying to make sure to structure it correctly. We'll talk about sort of the general outlines, but essentially, it's a certification where you present a capstone back to us at the end of a 4-week process. The 4 weeks starts not next week, but the week after during these same times, Tuesday morning or Wednesday afternoon. We'll record those sessions. They are not mandatory to attend. We highly encourage it. But essentially, there'll be a capstone presentation where you present back to us a flow to demonstrate mastery on both the technical side of the equation as well as the storytelling side. And obviously, other things that you bring to the table, we'll try to codify and be able to package together. So if you're selling, you know, just the visualization piece, or if you have analytic skills or, you know, other skill sets to bring to the table as brands try to link up more or less. So that structurally is sort of how we're looking at it. So basically it's a commitment of 4 weeks, 1 hour per week for each of the trainings, and really the capstone. But the certification is really a qualifier, and to help people get to that, we are going to open up access to the Flow editor for the purposes of, you know, getting you to that certification points. And we're still figuring out details on how to make sure there's guardrails so that people don't abuse the system, things like that. But we're not, hopefully you understand the spirit of what we're trying to encourage and why we don't want that to be a barrier for people. Cool. Any questions for everyone or other thoughts before breakout rooms?
I think people might be interested to see the results of the poll. Did I miss that?
Oh, from the first or second, or
either one. Just I think people might want to know if they're if they have a cohort in their group here, or if they're
I'm sorry.
Lone
For
Ranger.
some reason, I thought everyone could see the results right away. Sorry about that. So this is the second question, at least. I'll bring back up the first one after, maybe. Actually, I'm not going to bring it back up, okay. But I can share it with people afterwards. Great. I think that's about it. Let me create these rooms real quick, and give me just one moment.
While you're doing that, I'll just respond to one of the questions in the chat. So we see Flow as kind of an on-ramp to the metaverse. We have focused to make it a great experience on flat screens, as well as you know, mobile AR. And if possible, it's great to experience it in VR and AR headsets, but most of our customers are not using it in headset today. In a way, I think that we're encouraging people to move towards the metaverse, but it's certainly not, headsets are certainly not required.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, as part of this program, we'll provide you with links to tons and tons of information that we posted in our help center and out on our websites. So stay tuned for that. And we also encourage you to get in touch with us. If there's something you feel that there should be an easy way of doing something, and you're not quite able to understand how to do it, reach out to us and we'll reply to you as quickly as we can.
Awesome. All right. So these breakout rooms are open. And just before we break here, sorry, give me 1 second. That's just before we leave, to ask one last question as sort of a a check to see, or not a check, but a test really to see if there was a change just from our presentation in terms of your view of flow, as like what is the main thing to do. Great. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, we will see people in their breakout rooms, and ping me if you guys have any troubles, but we'll post this online. But very nice to meet you. I don't think we're going to come back together as a group, so we'll break off in our separate ways from our breakout rooms. But anyways, pleasure to meet everyone and see you guys in the breakout rooms.
Great.
So is this our breakout room then? Because we only see 7 people.
I have no idea. Usually it tells you if you get put in a breakout room, I think.
Yeah, I thought so.
Maybe we're forgotten souls.
Perhaps.
Did anyone hear about the Nvidia stock news?
What's the news?
Looks rough. Basically, I think the news is the US government has restricted NVIDIA from selling chips to China, therefore stock went down quite a bit.
It's another invite for another room, it looks like.
All right, see you guys maybe there.
Right.